You know, to be a Minnesota North Star fan in their expansion year was a series of highs, of lows, of great success and great heartbreak. This team struggled in the regular season, but came within one goal of playing the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Finals, losing to St. Louis in the semifinal round in the other Expansion 6 division. But that season was quite a thrill for all the fans of the Stars. We're going to go over it a little bit today and talk about like the different legends, including one of their players, Elmer Moose Vasco, who was eventually became their captain a year later, who never lost a tooth in decades of playing hockey. Can you imagine? No dentist needed with this guy. Now, the 68 version of the Stars, or 67-68, was the team's first season in the NHL. They finished fourth in the West Division, making the playoffs, with a record of 27-32-15 for 69 points. In the playoffs, they defeated the Kings in 7 games in the first round, before losing to the Blues in the semifinals, also in 7 games. Now, not known for their offense, they were very good on defense. They only gave up 226 goals, basically because the great Cesar Baniego had a great 2.77 average. He only scored 191 goals all season, with general manager Ren Blair also being coach. Now, Bob Wojtowicz helped the Stars have great success at the venerable Met Center, but it was the great season of the great and very underrated Wayne Connolly that led the way. 56 points in 74 games, scoring 35 goals. Ray Cullen had 28, Boudria, Mr. Andre had 18, Dave Ballon had 15, Parker McDonald 19, and a very young Bill Goldsworthy had 14. Now, before they started the season, the Minnesota franchise needed to have a name. Now, on March 11th, 65, NHL President Clarence Campbell announced that the association would expand by 6 teams from the original 6 through the creation of a new 6-team division for the 68 season, which would include mostly teams in the Midwest and the West. Now, in response to Campbell's announcement, a partnership of 9 men, led by Walter Bush and John Driscoll, was formed to seek a franchise for the Twin Cities area of Minnesota. The efforts were successful, as the NHL awarded one of the 6 franchises to Minnesota on February 9, 1966, almost 11 months later. In addition to the Twin Cities, the 5 other franchises were California, Oakland, LA, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis. The North Stars name was announced on May 25th, 66, following a public contest. The name is derived from the state's motto, L'Étoile du Nord, which is a French phrase meaning the Star of the North. Now, months after the naming of the team, ground was broken on October 3rd, 66, for a new hockey arena in Bloomington. The home of the North Stars, the Met Center, or for short, the Metropolitan Sports Center, was built in 12 months at a cost of, get this, ladies and gentlemen, $7 million. They got their money's worth, for sure. The arena was ready for play for the start of the 68 season, but portions of the arena's construction had not been completed. Spectator seats were in the process of being installed as fans arrived at the arena for the opening game on October 21st, 67. Now, of course, the rough patch of the year came in January 13, 68. 4 minutes into a game against the Seals at the Met Center, North Star center Bill Masterson was checked by Ottawa's Larry Cahan and Ron Harris and fell backwards onto the ice head first. The force of the back of his head hitting the ice damaged the pons and caused severe hemorrhaging as blood gushed from his mouth and nose. Masterson, who was not wearing a helmet, was taken to hospital where he died 2 days later, becoming the only player in NHL history ever to die as a result of an on-ice incident. Now, the whole season was in tribute to Masterson, the whole NHL. We still think about him years later. A special award for perseverance is named after him. And again, a quality guy that left us way too soon. But Minnesota rebounded from that rough patch to make the playoffs, 27, 32, and 15. Now, despite being minus 35, goals for and goals against, they were third in their division in scoring. Now, the big thing for Minnesota, again, they had a very, very rough patch in November. They were 5-10-4 by November 29th. But from then on, things pretty well evened out. They played nearly 500 hockey for the rest of the season. Now, there were only 3 games under 500 in the 72nd game of the season, 27, 30, and 15. But they lost back-to-back games to St. Louis on the 30th and 31st of March. Now, I think one of the biggest wins of the season for Minnesota was a 3-2 nipping of Montreal at home on March 2nd, 68, which showed he could play with the big boys. Now, this came on the heels of some tough losses to Montreal in the regular season, including a 5-1 defeat in November. Now, as we look at the playoffs, they squeaked into the playoffs by 2 points, having the same amount of wins as Pittsburgh, but with 2 more ties. They played as number 2 seed in the newly created Western Division. Since the expansion from 6 to 12 teams put all the new squads in the Western side that will ensure one of them to play in the Stanley Cup. At any rate, Minnesota were playing 5 overtime games in their 14 postseason matches, but winning just 2 of them. The Stars, facing a chance to go to the Stanley Cup, took the lead in Game 7 on Walt McKechnie's goal with 3:11 to play. However, the Blues followed up on 31 seconds later with a goal from Dickie Moore that would mean overtime. Now, Cesar Maniego and Glenn Hall combined for 80 saves in the final game, but Ron Schock's midnight goal in double overtime, it would have been known as the midnight goal by numerous fans, to send the Blues to the finals. Now, against LA, it was a very interesting situation. They had won the series after losing in overtime 4-3 in Game 6. Now, they won 9-4 in the final contest, and they did trail 2-0 the series. They won Game 6. They came well from behind. They were behind 2-0 the series to win. They're behind 2-0 series to win 4-3. Now, the big loss again in Game 7 in St. Louis still looked upon as one of the most bizarre games ever. Have somebody like Dickie Moore to score that late, who had just basically come out of retirement to play with the Blues. Very, very heavy. Now, again, the key players on the team that year, just to go over the roster: Gary Bauman, Carol Wetzel, and Cesar Maniego net. Wetzel was the only American player on the squad. Bob Wojtowicz, who was the defenseman captain, Bob McCord, Jungie Talbot, Moose Vasco, like I said, the tooth wonder, Pete Gauguin, Mike McMahon, Don Jones, Bill Plager, Lou Lanny, and Marshall Johnson. Wingers were Bob Chalabois, Bill Collins, Bill Goldsworthy, Andre Pronovo, J.P. Parisi, Ted Taylor, Wayne Connolly, Parker McDonald, Barry Meisner, Duke Harris, George Standing, and Dave Ballot. And the center, Sandy Fitzpatrick, Murray Hall, Lynn Lund, Milan Marquetta, Ray Cullen, Andre Boudreau, Bronco Horvat, Bill Masterson, Walt McKechnie, and of course, Teddy McCaskill. Now, it was kind of weird with the young talent on the team. J.P. Parisi had 27 points that year in only 43 games. The great Phil Collins was there as well with 9 goals. And Teddy Taylor had 8 points in 31 games. Now, defenseman McMahon led the way with 47 points in 74 games. Wojtowicz had 21 points in 66 games. Vasco had his typical total, goal and 6 assists for 7 points, while Billy Plager played 32 games with 2 assists. And of course, Nanny, Talbot Johnson, and Don Jones were there in the minimal play. Top player, actually, Maniego was a Vezina Trophy candidate that year, or like for lowest average, 2.77. The rest of the players unfortunately couldn't match. Maniego ended up with 21, 17, and 9 with 6 big shutouts. So the Minnesota North Stars, the 68 season, the expansion draft actually was quite interesting. They picked up Bauman, Ballon, Jungie Talbot from the Montreal Canadiens with some of the key drafts. And as the year went on, I think the biggest draft for them was Billy Goldsworthy from the Boston Bruins. Now, the NHL amateur draft that year, they only took Wayne Chessman and Larry Mick in the draft selection. But again, one game away from the Stanley Cup final, losing a key player to an unfortunate incident. Again, a series of ups and downs. But all I can tell you, I think the Minnesota North Stars would have given Montreal a hard go in that final that year. Not to say that St. Louis didn't, but Minnesota has always seemed to be, Montreal and Minnesota always seem to be connected in a certain way because the amount of former Montreal Canadiens or former stars who played with Montreal, including Bobby Smith, through the years, that were always connected to what they call the real Minnesota NHL team. So if you like what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget, keep your stick in the ice and be safe out there. Have a lot of leftover turkey, but make sure, watch the sodium. Have a good day. Bye.